Soft morning light slides across the floorboards, a thin ribbon of day arriving before the world returns to work. The room is so hushed that your breath becomes audible, and in that hush, something reverent arises, a willingness to begin again. You stand before a mirror ordinary, yet serving as an altar. It has seen your rushing, your scowls, your endless fixing. It has watched you move toward dislike and pull back from tenderness. This morning, it neither instructs nor condemns. It only remains. You bring your hands together, not so much a plea as a stance, and the silence gathers around you like gentle fabric. You feel a subtle ache in the words you have rehearsed for years. Want need someday hanging like keys on a mismatched chain. The door you have leaned on for so long stays smooth and unmoving. For an instant, you almost reach for the familiar keys again, and then you remember why you are here to choose a different one altogether. Florence once wrote, "Your word is your wand, not effort, not pressure, not bargaining with fate your word." A wand is not a hammer. It is more like a conductor's baton calling forth music that already exists, woven into the fabric of being. Your word does not compel. It makes room. Your word does not clamp down. It reveals. So standing here, you let your mind widen as if an inner window were opening outward. Inside you is a doorway with a scuffed brass label bearing the familiar words, "I want. I need." You have traced those markings so often that even the air seems to remember the path. But when you examine how it works, the lock is simple, made for a particular sound. The handle warms beneath your palm as you whisper hesitant softly at first receibo. Not wanting, but receiving. Not reaching away, but receiving. Not delaying until someday, but receiving now. The word unfurls like a small white sail. It catches a wind that has always been there, a current older than fear. Your entire nervous system aligns with that movement. The body recognizes it before the mind does. You remember mornings of bargaining with your own face someday, if when, and you see those patterns dissolve like sugar disappearing in tea. The mirror serves as an altar because it reflects back the divine ember you so often miss. An altar does not demand, it receives. It holds space both for declaring and for being named. When you look into your own eyes, you do not find a flaw that needs fixing, but a sanctuary you can enter. The passage is slender, panic cannot be brought inside, yet the doorway remains open. Someone else seems to be in the room, call her the you who remembers. With calm certainty, she watches your chest loosen and your spine extend by the smallest degree. She knows this practice, how a single well-chosen word can rethread the loom. Without moving, she communicates safety, giving you permission to put down the heavy armor of need. Notice the difference. I want is like a hand against glass, touching yet not grasping. I need is like a parched mouth at a well convinced the rope has broken. I receive, by contrast, stands at the spring itself. It acknowledges the river's movement and your place at its bank. This is identity, not appetite. When you say receibo, you affirm citizenship in a homeland that has had your documents ready all along. Close your eyes and feel the home breathe in. The kettle is almost about to whistle. The day gathers what it needs. You draw in a simple trust. What I decree in love becomes tangible in experience. This is not performance or a refined costume for onlookers. It is an inner surrender to a pattern that has always included you. The subconscious listens not only to the words, but to the tone beneath them. It reads intention. I want signals absence. I receive signals wholeness. So you practice meaning. You do not force. You allow. You let receibo rise up your spine like a lantern moving up a staircase, illuminating each step as it climbs. Warmth, spreads across your ribs, lifts through your throat, and collects at your lips. In the mirror, a faint smile appears, as delicate as the first curve of a new moon. A small memory settles as gently as a bird on a windowsill you earlier beneath a pearl-colored sky. You walked toward the bathroom, eyes still unfocused, shoulders tightened by thoughts of bills, an unsent message, a packed schedule. The mirror met you, and you met yourself. No display, no grand vow, only a whisper that seemed to fill the space. Recibo. Something within shifted, maybe a lock, maybe a latch, as if a long-shut cupboard opened on well-oiled hinges. You did not name what it was, money, forgiveness, a chance. You received as a statement of who you are. In that instant, the day's shape changed. The silence felt textured, the air more real. You watched light lift steam from your tea and knew, I am provided for. This is the altar's first teaching. Identity precedes inventory. You do not go to fire to ask for warmth as a favor. You go to remember flame and to affirm your kinship with it. Florence grasped this when she wrote about supply selection and decree, given not as scolding, but as freeing permissions. She did not tell you to gather proof of worthiness. She urged you to declare what is already yours. Let us then build a practice of coming to this mirror temple with attentiveness and precision. Imagine a simple band upon your brow, not ornamental, only enough to remind you of your lineage, those who devote their lives to a word. That inheritance is more about tone than loudness. The right note held steady rearranges the room. Your word is your wand, Florence said. A wand awakens what sleeps. A wand is made to open. Here is the shift. For years you may have pressed yourself against life's door, hearing nothing but your own pulse. You may have shoved and struggled, calling effort a virtue, and aching patience a kind of faith. But the door was not truly locked. It was locked by language. It was waiting for an identity password. Now you place your hand on the old wood and say, not with worry, but with rightful ownership, Recibo. The door swings inward to a wide expanse of quiet possibility. Notice the gentle way a mirror demands honesty. It does not pretend for the sake of courtesy. It is untouched by dramatic speech that conceals how often you are begging. The mirror provides a polished kind of integrity. If I receive is woven together with anxiety, it reflects that unrest back to you so you can calm it into quiet. If I receive is clear, it reflects clarity, and that harmony lands in your body. Either way, the altar sanctifies what happens. There is no punishment, only recalibration and alignment. You rest your hand on your heart. A soft heartbeat answers. I receive. You are not asking the universe to interrupt its innate generosity. You are opting into agreement with what is already present. Imagine a shut door that opens for a single syllable. Imagine a gate that knows your voice. Your declaration acts like a signature, and reality has been waiting to countersign. The mind might try one last bargain. What if I say, I receive, and nothing comes? Meet it with a gentle smile, as you would a child who forgets the bread is already in the oven. Reassure it kindly, things already are. The statement is not a coin thrown into a wishing fountain. It is the bell that announces the meal. The bell does not prepare the food, it declares that it is time to sit and eat. So take your place at the feast of your everyday life. Notice the light-colored plate, the carefully folded napkin, the light pouring as if from a hidden pitcher. Say your name with welcome and answer with the single word that matches your place, Recibo. Feel the chair accept your weight. Feel the air agree. Feel an old current approach, settle an arm around you and whisper at last. This is the passage, dear listener. Step across it with gentleness and full commitment. Leave at the mirror's foot the coarse clothing of I want and I need not out of shame, but because you have finished with costumes that never suited you. Continue in your true name, receiver. Not a thief, not a supplicant, not a beggar. Receiver. The one who knows sacred supply is not a limited portion for the worthy, but a river moving through those who allow it. And as you stay with it, the morning rises a little higher on the wall, and a different silence arrives, the quiet of being here. The kettle finally begins to sing. The day, having heard your declaration, lifts the blinds. You look into your own eyes again and give a small bow to the altar that looks like a mirror and is in reality a door. Let the ending be protected the way you guard a candle from a gust. Your word is your wand. Florence exhales through time, and this wand is yours to use without fear. From deep within your chest, you reply, Recibo. You say it again, softer, again with calm certainty that does not require loudness. Not wanting, receiving. Not wanting, receiving. Not wanting, receiving. If this shift settles in, you write, I claim it to secure the declaration. Subscribe if you want to go further into the practice. You hover at the edge of the next inhale, and in that one breath, someone from another era seems to appear hat set, just so eyes bright with a gentle kindness that suggests she has crossed deserts of her own and found water. Florence Scovel Shinn did not shout from platforms or stun the world with display. She painted, taught, and listened for real. In simple rooms, under ordinary lamplight, she placed an unadorned cup on the table and kept pouring words until they shone. Around her, the age rattled with inventions and familiar anxieties. People hurried, as we do now, to catch trains and chase chances. Still, she kept saying, with the steadiness of a hand that can draw a straight line, Your word is your wand. Let that sentence rest lightly like a feather in your open palm. Your word not panicked, fixing not midnight harvesting of worries. Wand not a weapon, not an emblem of domination, but a precise instrument that directs energy the way a conductor's baton calls an orchestra into song. In Florence's view, life is not a silent wall. It is a responsive stage. You speak, and the scenery shifts to fit the tone you carry, not by force, but by harmony with your natural pattern. Come closer. She taught that the subconscious, the concealed garden beneath everyday thinking, does not follow grammar the way a teacher demands. It follows essence. It listens beneath the words for the underlying hum. If that hum declares absence, scarcity grows. If it holds confidence, confidence matures. I want rings empty like a cup tapping beneath a shut faucet. I receive resonates as complete like a cup already wet at the rim sitting beneath a stream that never ceased. Imagine an old phonograph, its horn shaped like a brass lily. You crank the mechanism, set the needle down, and the record begins to spin. But what gets recorded is not only the tune, the room's atmosphere leaves its trace as well. If the space is filled with worry, the crackle exposes it. If the space is calm and kind, the sound arrives bright and clean like winter light. Your subconscious is that turning record. Each declaration engraves the mood of your inner room. You might say prosperity, while the deeper hum whispers panic, and the needle will cut panic into the groove. Or you might say Recibo, and the hum, steady and grateful, will etch itself into the track from which futures are formed. We do not blame the phonograph for playing back whatever was given to it. The responsibility is ours for what we place on the turntable. So in this modern morning, alerts flashing the mind, tallying numbers, you remember Florence's challenge, which comes as a question. What do you decree? Not what you justify, protect, plead for, or qualify. What do you decree? A bill grumbles from the counter. A deadline stands waiting with crossed arms. A fog of doubt edges nearer. Allow them to be there without handing them the seat of power. They are temporary, whether not law. The decree is the law. What do you decree the world asks from the threshold? You answer quietly like a passcode given to a kind gatekeeper I receive. And because you are training the subconscious to listen differently, the dialogue repeats like a chorus calling back and forth across a river. What do you decree I receive? What do you decree I receive? What do you decree I receive? Each repetition lays down another plank over the current until the crossing is no longer merely visualized and becomes something solid underfoot. Florence's era demanded a different kind of bravery, calm, everyday, deeply rooted courage. She watched people approach life as though standing before a skeptical clerk, weighed down by size and rubber stamps, and she proposed a quiet revolution speak as heirs. Not heirs of privilege, but heirs of alignment. Through language, she taught them to choose what matched their sacred blueprint. She called it divine selection, right ideas, right timing, right partners coming through resonance. The subconscious taking in such decrees rearranged the furniture of experience to match that tune. Maybe you offer a quiet protest. How can it be so simple when the world is loud, money demands calculation, and time feels scarce? Florence would tilt her head like a good teacher does when the real question finally appears. She would not pretend bills or deadlines do not exist. She would place them in a new position. She would point to the mirror this very pain before you and remind you that life reflects. What you present with authority, it reflects. What you wave at it in fear, it reflects as well. The mirror does not judge the face, it shows it. The subconscious does not score the decree, it executes it. What do you decree I receive? In Florence's view, life prizes precision the way a dancer prizes balance. A decree must be precise, it does not grasp for outcomes. It roots you in identity. Keep the language clear and bright. I receive right ideas, right timing, right supply. She would add now, not to hurry the universe, but to locate the decree in the eternal present where creation occurs. Not yesterday's regret, not tomorrow's forecast now. The subconscious opens under present tense authority. It begins at the center and spreads outward. So you stand before the mirror, an altar made of plain glass, and take a breath like stepping onto a stage you prepared with care. You feel subtle strings lifting at the edges of awareness. You speak your decree once then, let silence set it like plaster. You resist poking at it to see if it has hardened. You resist showing it off to earn validation. You trust the tone to do its work. And because you are living now in an era of glowing screens, spinning headlines, and attention traded like currency, you will forget. Of course, forgetting is not failure, it is weather again. And then you will recall. You will recall because the mirror remains faithful, because the phonograph waits for the next record, because Florence's simple sentence will ignite inside you like a beacon. Your word is your wand. You will place 2 fingers on your heart and breathe I receive, and the room will shift a few quiet degrees toward ease. What do you decree I receive? Let the exchange settle into the framework of your day until it becomes like the house's familiar creak and breath. When doubt rolls in like fog, you do not have to battle it. You simply change the record. When a bill clears its throat for notice, you do not abandon your decree. You live inside it and move from that edge to the next right action. When someone else's fear asks you to join the chorus, you can keep the tone you selected and allow that to be enough. Now, let the mirror teach you. Stand as though you are at once altar and officiant speech, and wand listener and decree. The face before you is not a problem, it is a proclamation. The eyes meeting yours are not asking permission, they are granting it. What the glass returns is not a courtroom, It is a tended field. And the word you place in that field is a seed already carrying its blueprint. What do you decree? Imagine the mirror as a classroom where you are both student and teacher. When you say, I want the student rights, I am the one who lacks. The teacher puts it on the board. The room takes it in. Tests arrive. The outcomes reflect the lesson. But when you declare, I receive the curriculum changes, new assignments show up ideas, tapping friends, reaching out choices that look like doors you did not notice before. These did not appear through pushing or pleading. You unhooked a window and let the air back in. You are not creating out of emptiness. You are aligning yourself. Florence called this a demonstration, not a performance, but proof shown in ordinary life. The law is confirmed by the texture of living, and life, like clear glass, reflects the tone of your decree. Let a gentle inventory begin, not to shame you, but to sharpen your accuracy. Where do you still say I want when you truly mean I am ready? Where do you say I need when you mean I am supplied? Where do you say I hope when you mean I accept? This is not self-blame. It is noticing the grooves your phonograph has carved so you can put on a new record. The needle lifts, the album changes, and the first bars sound different. That shift is not only emotional, it is a structural recalibration. And the new structure holds. I receive. Offer one word you are willing to substitute for recibo. Before glass could hold our faces with exact clarity, people truly polished darkness itself. In temple courtyards, where the desert read like an open book, Egyptian priests leaned over shallow basins carved from stone, obsidian dark like a shut eye, and searched for signs with the steady attention of a farmer waiting for the first green blade. In Greece, young women carried bronze mirrors, small suns tamed for the palm, not to tally flaws for vanity, but to read omens, not to inspect defect, but to glimpse destiny. They believed sight traveled both directions, that looking both transmits and receives. The mirror was not created to chain you to self-criticism. It served as a threshold. Today, you stand with those keepers of thresholds. The room may be plain, but the lineage behind it is not. Your mirror, even if it is a purchased square with corners softened by years, belongs to that ancient family of portals. It does what the water basins did and what the bronze rounds did. It receives an imprint and returns it. Not just the external image, but the inward seal, the tone of your decree, the shape of your identity. A physicist might call it reflection. A mystic and a mother might call it knowing. Florence would call it proof. We can borrow a name for this quantum impression. Don't hold it like a formula on a board. Hold it like a warm stone in your hand. It suggests that a single exact decree, clear living, embodied marks identity the way a signet ring marks wax. The ring is not the content. It certifies the content as true. Your decree, supported by a calm and tender gaze, seals the inner letter you are sending to life. After that, the couriers of experience know where to deliver. The ancients practiced stillness because stillness lets the ink dry. You will practice it too, not as restriction, but as welcome. Place both feet on the ground, your soles like roots remembering hidden springs. Soften your jaw as if releasing a story that has done its job. Let your eyes meet themselves in the mirror gently without judgment, like noticing someone you love across a crowded platform. Now breathe as the temple keepers trained their novices as musicians ready themselves before the first beat. We'll count to 7, letting each count be a stone laid in the river. Inhale on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Hold the fullness gently, like holding a small bird. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale into the room as if blessing it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Pause in the soft hollow that remains 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Repeat with less effort and more grace. Inhale 7. Hold 7. Exhale 7. Rest 7. As the cadence steadies, notice how the mirror changes from a simple object into a felt presence, like a friend who listens, like a clear pool that holds your confidences and strengthens your truth. A story from before stories knew our names, a young Theban scribe disciplined in devotion is given the task of copying a dawn hymn. He works by lamplight in a side room, its walls the deep blue of lapis. On his table lies a circle of obsidian his mentor calls the seeing stone. Each morning, he must polish it with goat's milk and linen woven by women who sing as they work. Their refrain is simple. We write what we are, and we are what we praise. The scribe is not sure he believes in exchanges like this yet. He continues polishing. Day after day, lamp milk, linen breath. One morning, as he leans in to dampen the cloth, he sees only for an instant not his present face, but himself older and expanded with joy. That future self stands in another room, laughing beside a child whose hair shines like sunlight on a river. It lasts only a moment, not a show more like the lingering ring after a door closes softly. He blinks. The image disappears, but the feeling remains humming along his ribs. He does not hurry to tell anyone about what he saw. He writes the hymn. He breathes into the stone, not "I want a family," not "I need a future," but the phrase that fits the tone that visited him: "I receive my appointed joys on time." He returns to his work. He keeps polishing. Years turn like pages, and then one day, he hears himself laugh the exact laugh he once glimpsed, and what surprises him most is how unsurprised he feels. The vision was not a reward stolen from fate. It was identity confirmed by decree. The mirror did not deceive him. It trained him to accept what already carried his name. Your mirror can teach you this practice the way a grandmother teaches a recipe, by letting the hands remember what the mind misplaces. The eyes provide direct passageways to the subconscious routes that bypass the noisy marketplace of thought. That is why lies spoken to the mirror sting, and why truth murmured into your own gaze soaks in like rain on dry ground. When you meet your eyes and say, "Recibo, you are not decorating appearances, you are writing law at the source where law is made," notice how quickly the mind tries to decorate the decree with particulars: "I receive," the raise the letter, the call. Those specifics may come, and they may be wonderful. Yet the portal responds most strongly to identity. Identity is the frequency the deep garden listens for. So you practice the lean, precise phrase, "I receive as who I am." The change is instant. Hope waits by the window making plans. Identity turns the handle and steps into sunlight. Bring your attention to the tiny muscles around your eyes, loyal workers that have tightened to judge, opened to plead, and flickered to avoid. Invite them to soften into what lovers call regard, a look that expects goodness, that presumes blessing. Look at yourself with regard. Look at life, which through this bright sheet of sand and silver looks back at you. With each steady breath, let the decree seep in: "I receive. I receive. I receive." Not to be above anyone, but because I refuse to live beneath my own full measure. Return to the count of 7, not as obligation, but as ritual. Inhale for 7, as if taking in a garden scent at dusk. Hold for 7, as if the world paused with you in a gentle secret. Exhale for 7, like fog lifting from a hill to reveal the town you love. Rest for 7, like the tide settling before it comes again. Let the breath teach your body that opening is safe, that resting is safe, that you are home where goodness can arrive and stay. Elsewhere in history, a Greek oracle advises sailors she does not predict the wind. She teaches them how to set their sails. She gives them a mirror ritual before leaving Polish the bronze until it shows not only the jaw, but the calm behind the eyes. Only when that stillness appears may they declare their route. Why this sequence? Because the sea listens to tone more than maps. A decree threaded with fear unravels like torn sailcloth. A calm decree becomes fabric that can catch the wind. You too are setting your sails. The mirror shows the weather inside your hull. If you yell at the storm, it only responds with louder thunder. But if you light a lamp within the gale and softly say "Recibo," the storm recognizes you and bends around you like a polite visitor. This is not magic or superstition. It is stewardship. You are caring for the frequency that makes your journey navigable. Let the softness of this practice touch you. There is no scolding here, no account book of failures, only the patient kind work of letting the altar be an altar. If tears come, they are not mistakes. They are watering for the seed. If laughter rises at the simplicity of "I receive," let it flow. The mirror receives laughter the way dark soil receives rain. Now, as soft pads and piano rise in your inner hearing, we will seal one quantum impression, one seal in wax, one bell note hanging in the air. Lengthen your posture a little, as if a thread from a star were gently tied to your crown. Relax your tongue from the roof of your mouth, so words can run like river water, not scrape like shovels. Meet your own eyes and slowly, simply let the decree pour through like sunlight through clear water. Recibo. It is complete not yet as external theater, though scenes will come, but as an inner setting. The mirror has measured you and returned, the measure widened with trust. For the rest of this day, you will not search for proof like a skeptic. You will be proof like a tree is proof of its seed. You will take the right actions from the tone you already chose. When the impulse to call appears, you will call. When a message opens a side door, you will recognize it not as a miracle dropped from elsewhere, but as a paragraph in the book you began the moment you said, "Recibo." Before you leave this room, let the mirror answer the quiet question you have not spoken. What if I fail? What if fear comes back? Beloved of the altar, fear returning is not failure. It is weather, and you know the pattern now.
When it comes, you do not throw away the mirror. You clean it. You do not abandon the decree. You repeat it in the voice you use to comfort someone you love.
You give yourself 7 counted breaths. You return to identity. You remember the scribe's laughter already waiting in a future that stands at the doorway beckoning you inside? The mirror teaches precisely because it tells the truth. It shows when your tone is tangled and when it is clear. It does not shame you. It invites you. Offer thanks to this portal the way pilgrims touch a chapel threshold. You are not worshiping glass. You are honoring the part of you that meets the divine there and recognizes home. As you leave, offer yourself a small kindness polish the mirror, as the scribe did less to remove dust than to seal the lesson through touch. Whisper, "I receive as who I am." Let the phrase rise inside you like bread proving quiet sure. Throughout the day, among strangers' screens, shadow and light, remember that any shine can be a welcoming gate, a bus window, a dark phone, the back of a spoons. Each offers the same lesson. Choose your tone, speak your name, and receive what is yours by love's law. You might feel pulled to negotiate as many people are by a hope that murmurs, "If I work hard enough, the door will finally agree. If I make myself small, quiet, smart, maybe I'll be let in." Respect that hard-working part of you. It carried the noisy ring of keys and endured the rain. But Florence's wand lifts that weight and redirects you inward. The mirror altar does not budge for tense pleading. It answers a clean decree. When you say recibo, you are not campaigning for entry. You are moving in. There is a difference between asking for a glass of water and remembering there is a faucet in the house. Requesting has its place. Gratitude for the faucet is what follows. Identity settles in that second instant. Recibo is the turn of the tap. Water sings because water is meant to sing. Supply flows because supply, once recognized, naturally runs. A skeptical voice may whisper, "I hoped with my whole heart, and the cupboards were still empty." Dear One Hope is a kind visitor. She is not supposed to stock the pantry. Identity laces up and turns the key. When recibo lands in the subconscious, the engine starts not through pressure, but because you stopped arguing with the law and began agreeing with it. Consent is not inertness. It produces right action. From identity, you call, ask, choose, and move forward. Every step carries the tone of your new address I receive as who I am. You can feel the structure of the sentence as if it were solid under your palm. I receive is not a dangling wire. It plugs into the strength of inheritance. Inheritance is not arrogance, it is design. A musician's child grows up among instruments leaned against chairs, the air perfumed with rosin and oil. Music is not demanded, it is given. Recibo is sitting at the piano because it belongs in your house, because your fingers know its alphabet, because the room's silence has been waiting for your notes. Notice the hidden trapdoor beneath bright language hope can turn into begging, wearing the costume of gratitude. I hope it comes. I hope I'm ready. I hope I'm enough. The subtext there hums with lack. Identity hums with enoughness. Say with me even and calm I receive as who I am. Again. Again. See how the sounds straighten the room. See how the future stops pulling at your sleeve and waits politely in the front room until you are ready to open the door. Another tiny story, no bigger than a teacup. A woman who collected affirmations like seashells grew tired of the clatter. One morning, she carried all her phrases to the mirror altar and listened for the one that sounded like truth instead of effort. Recibo she exhaled, and every other line folded into it like petals closing at dusk. All day she moved without rush, writing an email from steadiness rather than fear, declining an offer that tasted like dust, and in the newly opened space, receiving one that tasted like rain. Nothing exploded. Everything simply came into line. Identity performs the quietest revolution. It does not march. It shifts the pull of gravity. When you commit to the decree, recibo, even your no gains elegance, you stop grabbing chances that don't fit out of hunger, because hunger is no longer your language. You stop acting out scarcity to earn comfort because you have partnered with supply. You stop asking mirrors for mercy because you are practicing mercy toward yourself. Mercy and decree are siblings. They speak the same inner language. Return to the keys and feel them grow lighter. You don't have to throw them away. Someone else may need a drawer opened, and you will happily help. But your own door opens by another method. Hang the old ring by the entrance as a memento of a gentle, exhausted habit. Lift an empty hand and meet a ready handle. Speak your name. Recibo. The click you hear isn't the world giving in. It's you agreeing to the world that has always belonged to you. Pause for a soft protocol. Once identity is claimed, it needs protection, made not from fear, but from devotion. New shoots are fragile. The soil around them can be scraped by careless steps. So we turn to silence, the habit that shields seedlings from the gusts of other people's weather. For now, honor the word that opens the gate. Don't snap it in the wind like a flag. Wear it like a ring on your heart's finger. Touch it often, show it rarely until it settles into your bones. Before we move into the next terrain, let this practice live in your breathing instead of staying an idea. Inhale the certainty of belonging. Exhale the old reflex to beg. Whisper again, like signing a letter you're happy to send, I receive as who I am. If a wandering doubt knocks, let it find you seated at your own table, tasting what you have claimed, sliding out one more chair. Write your first decree sentence here. Miracle supply now appears for me, I receive. Sometimes language acts like moving air, and sometimes it becomes soil. Today, we choose soil. The decree has been spoken recibo, and the mirror has taken in its resonance. What comes next is not performance. It is the quiet work of taking root. Roots do their sacred work in darkness, not under clapping hands. Imagine the seed you press into earth. It doesn't issue updates while it breaks open and swells. It doesn't announce the effort of emerging. It keeps its own counsel and drinks from concealed waters. Silence is not fearful concealment. It is the air in which form can settle. In Florence's teaching, the first hours after a decree are like the fragile time. After bread leaves the oven, it must cool before you cut it, or you lose the softness you worked for. You have said, I receive, and the pattern has started stitching itself beneath the day's surface. Your work now is to guard that weaving. You don't keep lifting the fabric to show its unfinished shape to a crowd of restless hands. You let the loom hum safely inside your ribs. Picture the garden you tend. The path is a light ribbon of crushed shells making a muted thunder underfoot. The morning is cool. Birds practice their scales. In one corner, a square of soil waits a bed you cleared in last week's sun loosened and ready. In your palm seeds, tiny, powerful, almost funny. You kneel and press the decree into the earth. You pull a thin layer over it, the way a mother tucks a blanket around a sleeping child. As you stand, you feel the urge to announce it. Neighbors come admire the miracle I planted. Then you remember the law. The first rain is meant to soak, not to be displayed. The seedling seems to whisper, thank you for the dark. Ancient monasteries built walls for a purpose, not to hoard holiness, but to block the wind. A candle in a corridor will waver if every passerby stops to blow on it, even in admiration. Your decree is that candle alive, delicate, radiant, when protected. The limits you place around early practice aren't harshness. They are clear care for the soul. You wouldn't place a newborn on the doorstep just because the weather is pleasant. In the same way, you don't set your decree out in the traffic because the day seems gentle. You keep close what is still growing its frame. A soft, cautionary story tender, because many of us have lived it. A seeker, let's call her Mara, met the mirror at dawn and heard the clean click of recibo. It rang like a bell through rooms she didn't know she had. All day she moved as if an unseen warm hand had slid into hers. That afternoon, an affectionate but anxious friend, called the kind who opens umbrellas indoors. Glowing with newness, Mara poured out her decree. I said, I receive, and everything feels different. I can tell supply is moving. I feel the timing lining up. Her friend's love arrived as a warning. Be careful. Don't get your hopes up. Last time you felt this, it fell apart. Maybe don't say it out loud, you'll jinx it. Jinx is just superstition sitting on fear like a hat. And fear dressed up as concern can sound persuasive. Mara felt the warm hand pull away. The house turned cold. She tried to keep her tone steady, but the new weave snagged on her friend's anxious grasp. That night, the decree hung on her like a costume she wasn't sure she'd earned. The mirror felt tired. Sleep arrived as if a window had been left open. Then came replanting because Grace keeps a second cup ready. At sunrise, Mara returned to the mirror with a humility that corrects without shaming. She placed a hand over her heart and said, I receive without defense or apology. Then, like someone protecting a young tree, she built a small fence around the practice. For 7 mornings, she told no one. She met her own eyes, counted sevens with her breath, and let the decree hum beneath the day's surface. When her friend called, she spoke of the weather, a book, her grandmother's soup. She didn't hide joy. She simply gave it a room of its own. By the 8th day, the decree had woven a lattice of roots beyond the fence, confidence threading through the soil. When she finally spoke, her voice sounded like oak instead of a sprout. This discipline holds a tenderness that can't be performed. It's like putting your hands in your pockets so you won't smear paint that needs to set. It's like letting sourdough cool on the rack, even though the first slice would be bliss right now. It's like keeping your mouth gently closed around your miracle, not because you fear losing it, but because you're teaching it to breathe on its own. You are training your new identity to lift its head. Some may protest, don't you have to share in order to celebrate? Yes, but celebration has seasons, planting and harvest. In planting, the feast is inward, the music a hum only you can hear. In harvest, the table groans and you call everyone, bring your plates. This isn't stinginess, it's timing. It's respect for the process. Protecting an early decree doesn't hoard love. It builds a strong container to hold it. This is how uprooting happens quietly, often without malice. You share your sentence with someone whose record player is spinning fear. Their record overlays yours. The grooves catch. Your needle jumps and scratches. The tone changes. You find yourself defending your decree like you're on trial. Explaining when a decree is new is like overwatering a seed rot pretending to be care. The subconscious hears the argument and concludes, maybe we aren't sure, let's pause. The pause turns into wilting. The sprout curls back into itself, but nothing here is permanent. The garden forgives. You lift the sprout with 2 fingers damp with grace, place it in clean soil, and cover it with quiet. You say, I receive the way you would comfort a child after a rough dream. Hush now. And you go on. The plant remembers how to be a plant. Boundaries arise naturally when devotion matters more than display. You'll find that keeping quiet around your decree sharpens your listening. Ideas arrive with the right labels. Without an outer chorus singing over your planting, you can hear the shell's fine crack, the pale root searching the soil, adjusting to make room. Silence makes space. You aren't hiding. You're consecrating. A hush isn't emptiness. It's attentive expectancy. Sanctuaries know this. Orchestras do too. So does a woman tying up her hair before work. Create a small ritual of containment. After you say recibo to the mirror, close the moment with a gesture. Touch 2 fingers to your lips and then to the glass, or bow a little, or place your phone face down and walk away. That seal teaches the subconscious the seed is planted. We won't dig it up to check for roots. If a conversation tempts you to pull at the sprout, step around it with a warm smile, like avoiding a puddle your shoes don't need. If someone asks, what are you working on? Answer kindly while protecting your plot. I'm tending something beautiful. I'll know more soon. The world is owed your harvest, not your seedlings. And when an inner itch demands, share it. Now prove it, now get permission. Now see what it is, old hunger wearing new clothes. Approval is candy. It pleases the tongue while starving the root. You've moved on from that diet. Feed your decree with presence instead of praise, with right action instead of argument, with gratitude instead of talk. If someone calls your silence evasive, bless them and keep going. You aren't defending yourself. You're growing a tree. Another parable for the part of you that loves stories. A man learned a new melody on a violin he inherited from his mother. The tune was simple and stunning, the kind that rearranges a listener from the inside. Thrilled, he ran into the street and played with force, competing with horns, wind shouts, and laughter. He tried to drown out the world. The bow tore at the notes. His fingers slid. People smirked or walked on. He returned home carrying shame and anger and set the violin down. His grandmother, who knew long winters and longer silences, lifted the bow and said, "Child songs are baked like bread. They rise in quiet." She sent him to the pantry to play for flower jars and broom until the melody could stand on its own. He did. And when he went outside again, the song played itself and the world quieted to listen. You are baking a song as well. 7 quiet mornings aren't punishment. They create a sanctuary. Give your decree this time to rise. Cover it with patience like a cloth. Each day meet your own eyes in the mirror and say, "I receive," as if your lips were at an altar rail. Count your 7s, touch the frame. Leave without searching the sky for proof. In the field of non-performance, the sprout strengthens into a stem. Temptations to break your vow will come. They often disguise themselves as emergencies or irresistible gossip. Tell me everything, they plead, or they hiss. What if it doesn't work? You can bless them with a calm smile that serves as your answer. Or you can offer the simplest boundary, "Not yet." The garden hears that and replies, "Thank you for the fence." Let us bless those who blur boundaries with good intentions, including the older selves inside us. We carry no anger toward the warning friend, no frustration with the partner who wants evidence, no irritation with the coworker who squints at our joy. We remember everyone tends a garden, some grow thorns. We bring our decree back inside without drama or slam. We close the window gently. We return to the mirror in soft light and begin again. The altar keeps no record of near misses, only your yes. And celebration, what about that it will come? It will be on time and in right measure. It will gather those whose hearts widened at your words, not those who narrowed their eyes. You'll know them because your decree grows taller in their presence. They water without tugging the stem. Until then, tend the exquisite privacy of becoming. Privacy isn't emptiness, it's a greenhouse. Under warm air and protective panes, things ripen quickly and safely. You may feel an urge to negotiate, as many people do, guided by a hopeful whisper. If I work hard enough, the door will finally say yes. If I make myself small, quiet, and clever, maybe I'll be allowed in. Respect that industrious part of you. It carried the clinking key ring and endured the storm. Still, Florence's wand lifts that weight and directs you inward. The mirror altar does not respond to tense pleading. It answers a clear decree. When you say "recibo," you are not pleading for entry, you are moving in. There is a difference between asking for a glass of water and remembering the house has a tap. Requesting has its place. Gratitude for the tap comes immediately after. Identity settles into that second moment. Recibo is the turning of the faucet. Water sings because it is meant to sing. Supply flows because supply, once recognized, naturally runs. A skeptical voice might whisper, "I hoped with my whole being, and the cupboards were still empty." Dear One Hope is a welcome guest. She isn't meant to do the shopping. Identity laces up and turns the key. When Recibo reaches the subconscious, the engine starts not through force, but because you stop arguing with the law and begin agreeing with it. Consent is not inactivity. It produces right action. From identity, you call, ask, choose, and move forward. Each step carries the tone of your new address. I receive as who I am. You can feel the structure of the sentence as something solid beneath your hand. I receive is not a dangling wire. It is linked to the power of inheritance. Inheritance is not vanity. It is framework. A musician's child grows up among instruments, leaned against chairs, the air scented with rosin and oil. Music is not demanded. It is given. Recibo is sitting at the piano because it belongs in your house, because your fingers know its alphabet, because the room's silence has been waiting for your notes. Notice the trap door that can hide beneath bright words. Hope can turn into begging disguised as praise. I hope it comes. I hope I'm ready. I hope I'm enough. The subtext there hums with lack. Identity hums with enoughness. Say with me, steady and calm, I receive as who I am. Again, again. Watch the syllables straighten the room. Watch the future stop pulling at you and wait politely in the front room until you are ready to open the door. Another small story, no bigger than a teacup. A woman who collected affirmations like seashells grew tired of their clatter. One morning, she carried all her phrases to the mirror altar and listened for the one that sounded like truth instead of effort. Recibo. She exhaled, and every other sentence folded into it like petals closing at dusk. All day she moved without hurry, sending an email from calm rather than fear, declining an offer that tasted of dust, and in the open space, receiving one that tasted like rain. Nothing exploded. Everything simply aligned. Identity performs the quietest revolution. It doesn't march. It shifts gravity's direction. When you commit to the decree recibo, even your no becomes elegant. You stop taking ill-suited chances from hunger because hunger is no longer your language. You stop acting out scarcity to earn comfort because you have aligned with supply. You stop asking mirrors for mercy because you are learning mercy toward yourself. Mercy and decree are siblings. They speak the same inner tongue. Return to the keys and feel them grow lighter. You don't have to throw them away. Someone else may need a drawer opened and you'll happily help. But your own door opens by another way. Hang the old ring by the entry as a keepsake of a gentle, exhausted habit. Lift an empty hand and meet a ready handle. Say your name, Recibo. The click you hear isn't the world giving up. It's you agreeing to the world that has always been yours. Pause for a gentle protocol. Once identity is claimed, it deserves protection shaped not by fear, but by devotion. New shoots are fragile. The soil around them is easily scuffed by careless feet. So we turn to silence the practice that shields seedlings from the gusts of other people's weather. For now, honor the word that opens the gate. Don't snap it in the wind like a flag. Wear it like a ring on your heart's finger. Hold it often, show it rarely until it settles into bone. Before we move into the next field, let this practice become breath instead of remaining an idea. Inhale the certainty of belonging. Exhale the habit of begging. Whisper again, as if signing a letter you're pleased to send, I receive as who I am. If a stray doubt knocks, let it find you eating at your own table, savoring what you have claimed, drawing out one more chair. We end this section with a vow spoken in the gentle authority you are learning to trust. I protect my decree with kindness. I cover my seed with silence. I give my roots the nourishing dark they need. I receive and I let time do its gentle, precise work. The mirror seems to bow. The altar shines with a mother of pearl glow. You step back into the day carrying a quiet calm. Real wealth sounds like water. Not the sharp clink of coins in a can, nor the dry crackle of bills hoarded like brittle leaves, but water, a current that knows where it's going, curves around stones without complaint, and nourishes roots it will never see. Near such a river, the fear of thirst relaxes. The body remembers its old intelligence, how to drink, how to bless, how to let go. Recibo acts like a river word. It doesn't build barricades, it welcomes. It rejects clutching, it moves, and it comes back. Florence called us into right action and divine selection, not as toil, but as choreography. For her wealth wasn't accumulation, it was alignment, each thing placed properly, each gift meeting its intended use. Receiving is taking your seat in this music, a conduit, not a dead end. A cul-de-sac traps rain and turns stale. A channel sings and overflows. When you meet the mirror and declare, "I receive," the river recognizes the tone and widens its banks. Your decree is measured not by what you can store, but by how easily gratitude runs through your open hands. Come back to the mirror, the altar that reflects your tonal truth. Approach with fear's riptide. Mine, 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 and it gives back a tight mouth and a forehead that mistrusts the sky. Approach like a river, and it returns a face lit by enough. The subconscious hears more than words. It notices how your hands hang, how your shoulders soften. You say, "I receive," and your body, fluent in the same language, answers, "I also give," not as self-erasure, but as self-expression. Oaks drop acorns because they are oaks. You give because you are kin to supply. Let the river speak its own story. A woman named Angela sold flowers beside a bakery where the early light seemed to smell of mercy. Her stand was modest buckets of Marigold's eucalyptus wrapped in paper white roses and a dented tin cash box with an old hinge. Quietly and faithfully, she made a practice of giving one stem each day to someone whose eyes had lost their softness. No permission, no speech. She placed the stem in a hand and murmured "Parati," then returned to work. At home, she kept a mirror. Every dawn before opening, she faced it and said, "Recibo." She didn't list reasons or make a case. She received as identity. One winter, a storm overstayed its welcome. The street flooded and her stall swallowed water. Buckets became little boats, and when the skies finally cleared, the refrigerator had died. Petals sagged. The tin box looked like it was scowling. She went to the mirror and felt the old reflex panic dressed as prudence reach toward her. But her tone had been trained. She took 7 counted breaths and said, "I receive right restoration by divine selection." Then she cleaned, sorted, and saved what she could. At closing, she gave away the last fresh roses, honoring their moment with use instead of waste. The next morning, a man who had often stood in her line, usually speaking only the price and a thank you, came holding a folder. For months, he had noticed those single stems placed into shaky hands. He managed nearby buildings, including an empty shop with abundant light and a working cooler. "If you want it," he said, "I'll pay the rent for 3 months. I'm not even sure why. He glanced at the soaked buckets and shrugged as if the river had spoken, and he was simply delivering the message. Angela moved into a space with windows as wide as smiles. Her old stall became a threshold she blessed whenever she passed. Was it magic or simply kindness? It was harmony answering a decree. She had been receiving into circulation for months. When the flood arrived, the river recognized her name. The restoration wasn't payment back. It was the ecosystem breathing out. Gratitude and generosity aren't tools for manipulating fate. They're the tuning that keeps your instrument aligned with the music already playing. In the key of gratitude, hoarding looks ridiculous. Hoarding is the story of amnesia. It forgets that supply rises from within and also reaches us from outside through divine selection. Gratitude sits before the mirror and whispers, "Look at what's already here." Generosity stands at the doorway and replies, "Let it continue moving." Anyone who has tried to grab water knows how quickly a clenched fist becomes a sieve. An open hand can hold water for a moment long enough to drink long enough to wash dust from the face, then it lets it go downstream to rejoin the river. Your decree recibo trains the palm to open. Your practice of giving keeps the hand supple. Florence described right action as the way a decree grows limbs. Right action isn't an adrenaline sprint. It's the composure of alignment. From "I receive" You don't lie back in a golden fog waiting for gifts to appear on your pillow. You act, but you act from current, not from famine fear. You make the call your bones recognize as permitted. You let go of the obligation that tastes like dust. You pay what is due, ideally on time and always with honor, because integrity unties knots and money likes to travel where integrity walks. Right action also includes generosity that prevents karmic whiplash, the rebound that follows grabbing what isn't yours or resenting what is. You don't force the scales, you let them level themselves. When an unexpected amount arrives, you ask quietly, where does a portion naturally want to go? Not from fear of losing it, but from trust in circulation. When a new opening appears, you notice who nearby needs a chance, and you connect, usher, or guide. You don't empty yourself to fill everyone else. You share because the loaf is plentiful. In your mind, return to the river's edge. You are a stone placed in the current by a discerning hand. The water sings as it slides by. Fight it and your edges grind down. Settle into your own shape and the current splits and glints around you. Wealth isn't a pile at your feet. It's the shine that moves around the form you are. When you permit flow, the stone remains itself, and the stream remains a stream. When you block it, both suffer. Harmony means each element is allowed to be itself. Riverstone bank sunlight. Recibo authorizes you to be that stone, that bank, that bright surface, where light becomes spendable coins for bread and beauty. Another story, small and true as a seed. Raphael was taught to protect every penny because the river of his childhood froze each winter and no one explained that spring returns. He encountered Florence's work later, as some people learn music only after their hands have grown used to tools. Standing at his mirror with a face trained to expect nothing, he whispered, "I receive." The mirror did not argue. It stayed quiet. He chose a generosity so slight it couldn't frighten him each week. He tucked 2 coins into an envelope labeled, "Return to the River." He picked a place that fed his spirit, where teaching loosened his shoulders, and sent the envelope there. Small in numbers, immense in tone. Months later, his employer offered him a role that used his quiet brilliance instead of his capacity to endure the grind. The raise was real, the relief even deeper. At the mirror, he almost murmured, "I don't deserve this," but he caught the old script and replaced it with, "I receive. I circulate. I bless." He increased the envelope in the same measure that his fear diminished. The river sang, and he slept like a stone, settled in warm earth. Was it a quid pro quo? No. It was music. He tuned himself to the current, and the current recognized itself. He practiced right action not to bribe fate, but to stay aligned with his decree. He became the kind of man whose money carried the scent of his kindness wherever it went. Money responds to that scent. It returns to such homes more often. You might feel a question pulling at you. If I keep giving, will I run out? Ask the mirror. You are not a pitcher emptying itself. You are a spring. Springs don't fear the cup. They rejoice in it. The cup gives the spring a shape for its gift. Receiving as identity lets the spring stay spring and the cup stay cup. Some days you are the source. Some days the vessel. Many days you are both the living meeting of water and form. When scarcity hisses, reply gently, not hoarding, flowing. The hiss withdraws, embarrassed by that plain light. There is also generosity in saying no, and that too belongs to harmony. To keep the water clear, you refuse what would cloud it, the well-paid work that hollows your spirit, the glittering attachment that leaves the heart hungry, the deal that asks you to twist your word. Recibo does not mean I take whatever shows up. It means I accept only what matches divine selection. You don't clutch opportunities like a child squeezing candy until it melts. You receive what is yours and bless the rest to find its proper home. Right action can decline with a smile and pays no price for it because the river remembers its way. Make this practice a vow before the mirror I receive so I can circulate. I am supplied so I can be a sanctuary. Notice your mouth forming the words like a wide doorway. Feel your ribs expand to hold a breath spacious enough to welcome others. When you pay a bill, bless the hands it will feed. When you buy bread, imagine the field and the mill, the baker's forearms, the oven's warm breath. Thread a fine strand of gratitude through every exchange so money stops feeling like a cold coin dragged across a counter and becomes sunlight moving from palm to palm. Florence often spoke of divine order, things fitting into place rather than being forced. Wealth in divine order is a choir, not a parade. Each voice holds its line and no one needs to shout. When you decree recibo and then move in right action, you take your place in that choir. Your tone, no matter how soft, keeps time for someone you may never meet. Return to the 7 count this time as a tide-lit prayer. Inhale for 7 welcoming currents of right ideas. Hold for 7, sensing the deep aquifer beneath your days, wide and clean. Exhale for 7, releasing the small whirlpools of grasping. Rest for 7, trusting the river to move even when you aren't watching. Repeat and repeat again. Teach your nervous system this wealth is not performance. It is rhythm. Some days your account may look like a dry riverbed. Don't worship the dust. Bless the rain. Stand at the mirror anyway. Set your face like Riverstone. Speak the decree. Act in right action. Give something so small fear won't notice, but faith will a thank you note half a lunch a book that once arrived for you and could arrive for someone else now. Every gesture cuts a channel, and channels pull water the way open palms draw welcome. The mirror will notice. Your days will respond. Openings will come not like scratch-off luck, but like well-crafted doors. You'll feel guidance, not urgency, toward thresholds whose hinges already move easily. Your yes will be less frequent and more honest. Your no will become a gift to everyone involved. Recibo will mature into a fluent grammar of grace, receiving, circulating, selecting, and resting. Harmony will be audible, even in the way you walk. Before we end, honor the paradox that frees you. The more you trust life's current, the safer your body and mind become. From that safety, generosity rises without effort. As generosity grows, the current seems to recognize you and answer in kind. It turns and turns not as a trap, but as choreography. In this shift, wealth stops looming like a cliff and becomes a riverside path shaded by trees and strangely familiar. Murmur now as if the leaves leaned in to hear I receive to be a river. I receive to move in right order. I receive to let love take form through me. Let the mirror respond with a silent nod. Let your hands remember their craft. Let even your next ordinary choice carry the clear living water of this promise. A decree isn't just words repeated. It's an inner condition you choose to inhabit. The wording is the doorway, but the state is the room you step into. If you've ever flicked a switch and nothing happened, click, 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 you know what empty repetition feels like. A decree without state works the same way. So we will wire the decree to its power source: emotion, breath, and focus. 3 pillars, simple, precise, fully embodied. Pillar 1 is emotional certainty, not simple optimism, not wishful wanting. It is the calm, almost everyday assurance that what you call for is already moving toward you because it recognizes your voice. Imagine calling your own name in your home. You don't wonder if you'll respond. You just turn. Emotional certainty is that inner nod. Yes, of course, this is mine by divine right. No frantic pushing, only quiet claiming. And if certainty trembles, there is no scolding. there is gathering. You lend steadiness to the line the way a parent jogs beside a child's bike until balance arrives. Certainty doesn't need spectacle. It needs a clean, unmistakable yes. Pillar 2 is regulated, composed breathing. Spoken on a thin, hurried breath, a decree turns brittle and sharp. Carried on an even breath, it roots. The nervous system broadcasts the message, and breath chooses the station. We tune to calm, so the words travel without static. Inhale gently through the nose low and unforced, letting the ribs open. Exhale longer than you inhale, letting the jaw release. Let the sentence ride the exhale. You don't need volume, only precision. Imagine the breath as a warm current smoothing the path for each syllable. A calm breath tells the body, we are safe. And safety lets the decree emerge, spare, steady, and strong. Pillar 3 is steady focus through the eyes. Eyes don't only mirror, they concentrate attention like a gentle beam. As you decree, meet your own gaze in the glass. Don't wander across your face, critique your hair, or hunt for flaws. Place attention on the living center. The pupil circled by color, and let the voice rise from that center. Ride the breath past the lips and return to the eyes in one continuous loop. No drifting, no dividing attention with screens, clocks, or stray sounds. The eyes gather you back into one point. If focus shakes, come back to the eyes. If the mind says, this is silly, come back to the eyes. If emotion swells and tears form, hold the gaze. Let the tears oil the truth. Aim your attention as a kind, unwavering beam. This is why fewer, deeper lines outperform long chains spoken on autopilot. 10 hurried repetitions wear you out and shift almost nothing. One decree delivered with depth supported by the 3 pillars makes a new imprint. You don't need more syllables. You need more presence inside the syllables you choose. Imagine a signet pressed into warm wax. You don't pound it repeatedly. You make one steady, intentional impression. The wax receives, the seal remains. Let's practice a concise framework and repeat it 3 times so your body, not just your thoughts, can remember it. 1 breath, 1 gaze, 1 decree. Stand or sit with an elongated spine. Keep the belly relaxed. If it helps, place one hand on the lower ribs to feel the breath and let the other rest at your side or lightly over the heart without stiffness. Tip the chin slightly to lengthen the throat. Then begin. Inhale gently through the nose, counting to 4. Exhale through nose or mouth for a count of 6. On the exhale, meet your reflection's eyes. No staring, just connection. It is you, ancestral you, future you, the you who already knows. In a steady, natural tone, say I decree with calm certainty. Pause for a moment. Feel the resonance settle in the chest and a subtle hum at the lips. Then repeat the cycle, 1 breath, 1 gaze, 1 decree. Inhale for 4 and exhale for 6. Keep the voice open and the jaw loose as you say, what I call responds to me. 3rd cycle, 1 breath, 1 gaze, 1 decree. Inhale for 4, exhale for 6. Place the line like a key turning in its lock. I speak once, and it is done by divine right. Notice the atmosphere after these 3 brief lines spoken on the pillars and compare it with the weariness of grinding through long lists from a tight chest. The difference is physical. This is the decree's structure. Emotion provides the warmth, breath sets the tempo, eyes set the aim. All of you gathers behind one clear sentence. If resistance appears, welcome it. Resistance is the surface tension a boat breaks as it departs the dock. The aim isn't to eliminate resistance, it's to keep moving steadily paced by breath until the water bears you. When doubt swells, simplify, return to the center 1 breath. one gaze. One decree. We will also care for rhythm, a quiet metronome under awareness. Inhale to gather, exhale to release. The decree rides the exhale because speaking is at root an act of letting go. Certainty exits on the out-breath. The eyes receive that breath and reflect it back as recognition. You are not begging your reflection. You are informing it. No pleading placing. The line is spoken. The order holds. If anxiety spikes, don't decree from the spike. Feeling matters, but not every feeling strengthens the message. Panic warps the channel. Start by returning to calm. Extend the exhale until the ribs soften and the jaw unclenches. Let the shoulders drop. Then speak one clear line, even if it is only, "I am safe, guided, supplied." Let that be enough. The mind will want to add more. Refuse gently. Fewer but deeper. One clean imprint outweighs 1,000 shallow marks. Finally, remember this: a decree isn't a tool for control, but an alignment. You choose a consent to what is already real within divine order. You are saying yes to what is true at depth. A decree doesn't push, it reveals. When that settles, your voice changes, effort falls away, and what remains is the ease of naming what is already yours. Breathe, eyes, speak. These three make a tripod steady enough to hold your full weight. When you're ready, we'll carry this tripod into a 7-day practice meant to widen identity and deepen receiving. The pillars move with you each day, steady as a pulse. Now we start shaping the 7-day arc. Imagine the week ahead as a map of receiving 7 days as 7 thresholds, each one opening into a room wider than the last. We aren't adding chores. We're uncovering what has been waiting for you. One strong refrain accompanies every day, simple and potent. Today I receive. Day 1, receiving self. Today's decree repairs the first covenant with yourself. You aren't a broken checklist. You are a home to return to. Vignette. At dawn, you enter a quiet room. The mirror waits, the candle stays unlit. You meet your own gaze and find no argument there. The decree isn't yet about money, health, or work. It is about placing your own keys back into your own hand. Today, you receive your name, your breath, your permission to be fully present. Today, I receive myself. I belong to me by divine right. When your existence is not up for debate, the day's rhythm shifts. Your pace softens. Food feels like consent. When the phone rings, you choose instead of defaulting. Day 2, receiving peace. Yesterday, you reclaimed your home. Today, you furnish it with stillness. Peace isn't the absence of difficulty. It's the presence of order. Vignette, you wake, wanting to check balances, messages, headlines. Instead, you do 3 rounds of inhale for 4 and exhale for 6, and say, "Today I receive peace. My breath is my anchor." A sharp email arrives rather than rushing to defend you. Breathe, notice, and respond from the center. Peace is a practiced discipline, not a fragile wish. Your decree sets the climate. Peace fills this house. Day 3, receiving provision. With self reclaimed and peace in place, you welcome resources. Provision is not random, it is resonance. Vignette. In front of the mirror, you say, "Today I receive provision." Supply hears my name and answers. You build the bodily sense of bills, managed cupboards, replenished, and the rest that comes from enough. Proof arrives. In small ways, a forgotten refund lands, a lead is passed along, a conversation clicks into place. You receive without clenching. The decree offers direction, and the day responds. Day 4, receiving health. Provision includes the body. To receive health is to receive alignment through tissues and rhythms. Vignette. You place a hand where the body calls, shoulder, belly, spine, and decree. Today, I receive health. My body remembers wholeness. You choose water, daylight, and gentle movement. You listen without disaster thinking. A symptom eases, or if it flares, you meet it with care rather than battle. Your body notices the change when you welcome it as an ally. Day 5, receiving love and right people. Today, you tune the relational field within you and around you. Vignette. You say, today I receive love and right people. I am selected and I select. A necessary boundary forms without theatrics. A nourishing message reaches you. You recognize generosity as your native language. The space around you warms. Right people don't drain you. They support the flow. Love becomes a climate you agree to live in, not a stage you exhaust yourself performing on. Day 6, receiving purpose and right work. Action aligns with calling. Vignette. You affirm. Today, I receive purpose and right work. My gifts go where they multiply. One clear step stands out. You send one pitch, complete the task that truly matters, or let go of the project that never did. Relief arrives as proof. Purpose isn't a prize to earn, it's a fit you allow. Day 7, receiving overflow and thanksgiving. Today honors surplus and gratitude. Vignette. You look back over the week and notice quiet strength accumulating. You declare, today I receive overflow. I give thanks before, during, after. Enough appears as money, time, affection, or clarity. You deliberately circulate a portion, a gift, a tip, a note, a kindness. Gratitude isn't an afterthought, it powers the engine. Across the whole arc, the refrain continues. Today I receive. You'll hear it in your breath, feel it in your shoulders, and see it in your choices. Each day adds a facet to identity. I am the one who receives self, the one who receives peace, the one who receives provision, then health, then love, then purpose, then overflow. This identity doesn't wait for evidence, it generates evidence. The week rises in soft waves. You don't sprint, you climb. Day 3 holds the swell of provision. Day 5 brings the warmth of right companions. Day 7 gathers into a chorus of overflow. Between those peaks, you follow simple steps. Breathe, look, decree. Take one centered action, then release. No badges, no self-scolding, only the map and your footsteps. If you're willing to take this walk, we'll set the practical details next. Write 7 days to commit. I'll attach a checklist in the description. An altar is where you choose what is sacred in everyday life, and you confirm that choice by showing up. We'll keep the setup minimal space-time symbols. Let the day's first light be your ally. Choose your mirror. Avoid magnifying mirrors that trap you in pores. Use a plain, clean surface large enough to hold your face and eyes. Place it where you can stand or sit with ease. Wipe it with intention as if opening a window. This isn't about cosmetic gloss. It's about clearing the interface. Lighting. The best light for decrees is soft morning light. Avoid harsh overhead glare that makes you squint. The edge of a window works well. If it's still dark, use a warm lamp with a dawn-like tone. The light should welcome you, not interrogate you. Placement. Set the altar on a small shelf, a dresser, or a clear corner of your desk. Protect its open space. Clutter scatters attention, simplicity gathers it. If the surface serves other uses, place a mat cloth or tray to mark the altar's boundary. One look should tell your nervous system, this is where I meet myself, and speak. Simplicity. Begin with what directly supports the pillars. The mirror, a candle optional plain and lightly scented if you use one. A small bowl of water, optional a cue for breath and speech as flow. A journal and pen, nothing else. No elaborate shrine, no worry about doing it right. The altar isn't theater, it's a lived practice. Time. Morning acts as a reset gate. The day is most impressionable then. Your first words shape the mold. Choose a consistent window. 5 to 10 focused minutes is enough. Aim for the same hour. The body likes rhythm. You are training a receiver. When the time arrives, the room should feel like a friend waiting at a cafe, not a task you haul yourself toward. Pre-ritual silence. Before you touch the phone or open messages that pull you into someone else's weather, go to the altar. Breathe and let the hush greet you. Silence is fertile, not empty. It is soil for the seed you'll plant. If urgency tugs, smile and choose slow on purpose. If you use a bowl, pour water. If you use a candle, light it. Notice the room's temperature. Hear the first bird call or the city's hum. This is your threshold. Symbols. A candle suggests illumination. Water signals flow and cleansing. A journal represents record and dialogue. None are required. Each can help. If you add a stone or token, choose just one. Too many symbols become noise. Let each chosen emblem speak a sentence inside you. Candle, I see clearly. Water, I allow flow. Journal, I remember. Your altar card. We'll choose one word for a small card, one quality you intend to receive through the week's arc. Place the card where your eyes naturally rest during decrees. When the mind speeds up, the card calls you back to clarity. One word that steadies the whole house. Share the single word you want to live on your altar card this week. Florence Scovel Shinn stressed clear declarations without vagueness and without contradiction. We'll use a template that sharpens your signal and ties it to ethical action. Recibo, quality, virtue, now made visible as specific field. It is mine by divine right. Recibo grounds the sentence in identity as receiver. The chosen virtue defines what you're welcoming. Peace, order, abundance, clarity, strength, favor. The chosen field gives it a landing place, finances, health, relationships. Vocation timing, so reality knows where to touch down. The final phrase sets the ethical calibration by divine right, refuses what belongs to another, and consents only to what is yours, in right timing and by rightful means. Join a simple call and response. Keep the rhythm even and your gaze steady. On the exhale, recibo abundancia, ahora hecha visible como provisión financiera. Es mía por derecho divino. Pause briefly, breathe, then repeat in English for clarity. I receive abundance, now made visible as financial provision. It is mine by divine right. Notice the sentence's architecture. It is lean and precise. No bargaining and no pleading, only a virtue named, a field specified, and a rightful claim affirmed. Examples for money, recibo, orden y abundancia, ahora hechas visibles como $3,000 de ingreso adicional este mes. Es mío por derecho divino. I receive right opportunities, now made visible as a fully funded project at fair pay. It is mine by divine right. Examples for health. Recibo equilibrio, ahora hecho visible como digestión tranquila y energía constante. Es mío por derecho divino. I receive restoration, now made visible as pain-free movement in my lower back. It is mine by divine right. Examples for love relationships. Recibo amor y selección correcta ahora, hechos visibles como relaciones recíprocas y límites sanos. Es mío por derecho divino. I receive companionship, now made visible as a mutual, joyful partnership. It is mine by divine right. Examples for purpose and work. Recibo. Claridad, ahora hecha visible como el siguiente paso en mi llamado y el cliente correcto. Es mío por derecho divino. I receive right work now made visible as a role where my gifts multiply, and I am well compensated. It is mine by divine right. If the desire is unclear, we make it clear. Vague, I want more money. Precise, I receive abundance now made visible as $10,000 in aligned income before date. It is mine by divine right. Vague, I want to feel better. Precise, I receive restoration now made visible as 8 hours of restful sleep nightly and steady morning energy. It is mine by divine right. Vague, I want love. Precise, I receive love, now made visible as a committed, joyful partnership with shared values. It is mine by divine right. Ethics and right conduct. Your decree never aims at someone else's partner position or property. You refuse to tug on what isn't yours. By divine right softens coercion and invites right selection. It also requires ethical behavior. You show up, speak truthfully, do your work, honor your accounts. Rest when needed and decline what misaligns. The decree is not a shortcut. It is a lighthouse. You still take the next fitting action. The light simply guides the right vessels toward your shore. Try a rhythmic call and repeat pause briefly before and after I's steady breath, leading recibo, paz ahora, hecha visible como decisiones claras hoy. Es mía por derecho divino. Pause, I receive overflow, now made visible as unexpected checks and paid invoices. It is mine by divine right. Pause. Recibo fuerza, ahora hecha visible, como un cuerpo estable y flexible. Es mía por derecho divino. Pause, I receive right. People now made visible as mentors, collaborators, and clients who honor my time. It is mine by divine right. Pause. Now write your own line. Follow the template. Keep it lean and potent, one quality, one field, one unmistakable claim. Post your refined decree. Offer encouragement to others, kindness only, no critique. The 3 Ds show up not as enemies, but as trainers. When doubt speaks, answer with breath. When debt presses, answer by putting it in order. When delay stretches on, answer by trusting the seed beneath the soil. Parable 1, Doubt. A woman stands before her mirror with her decree card in hand. She has said the line before, yet today a voice hisses, "Who do you think you are? Remember your past." The blow lands and her shoulders rise. She remembers the 3 pillars. 1 breath, 1 gaze, 1 decree. She lengthens the exhale and the whisper loosens. She states, I receive order now made visible as clear guidance for today's actions. It is mine by divine right. No rebuttal, no defense. She speaks the line and takes the next fitting step, a delayed call, a necessary spreadsheet. By evening, the inner critic is quiet, not because she fought it into silence, but because she fed the day with actions aligned to the decree. Doubt trained her to breathe deeper instead of stopping. Reframe doubt is a sign you're growing at the edge. Meet it the way wind meets a kite, it becomes lift if you hold steady. Use this line when doubt appears. Thank you for showing me my growing edge. I breathe. I decree. I act once. Parable 2, Debt. A man sorts the mail and finds overdue notices stamped in red. His chest tightens. He wants to decree from panic, plead for sudden windfalls, and scramble. He chooses differently. He sits down, sets the envelopes aside, not to hide them, only to release his grip, and breathes. Then he declares, I receive order and supply now made visible as paid essentials and a clear plan for balances. It is mine by divine right. He calls 2 creditors, arranges calm payment plans, and makes 1 small payment today. Later, a modest but honest freelance job appears, and he accepts it. Debt moves from identity into a temporary condition. He refuses shame and chooses order. Reframe debt is a temporary compression that teaches flow and clear sight. In your decrees, name order before provision. Order opens the gate, supply enters. Let the pressure cue you to sort priorities, negotiate with dignity, and keep your inner receiver unclogged. Parable 3, Delay. A novelist submits her pages and then meets weeks of silence. The quiet pricks at her. Did they hate it, she wonders. Every day she wants to dig up the seed to check it. Instead, she returns to the altar, breath steady gaze, gentle, and decrees I receive right timing, now made visible as the perfect yes and peace while I wait. It is mine by divine right. She journals, keeps her counsel with others, and tends what is present drafts, A new essay takes a walk, calls a friend. On day 21, an email arrives, edits, and a yes. She doesn't make that message her peace. The peace already lived in her. The yes comes as overflow. Reframe delay is a season of formation, not refusal. You wouldn't split a seed open the next morning and scold it for not becoming a tree. You water, you tend, you wait. Do not check the seed every hour. Let right timing be part of the order you're welcoming. When doubt, debt, or delay shows up, return to the pillars. Calm the breath. Steady the eyes. Speak one clear decree. Then take one congruent action, small, real, tangible. If you miss a day, there's no punishment. You begin again. Steady repetition retrains your receiving system. Type I, stay the course if you're choosing steadiness over alarm. Money's rightful role is as a servant. It isn't your ruler, your worth meter, or an emotional lever. It takes the shape of your container and moves through channels, some aligned, some forced. Your practice is to choose channels well and keep circulation generous. Imagine a riverside marketplace. Stalls overflow with fruit grain cloth and tools. Neighbors trade nod and bless each other. The river keeps moving steady and unhurried, sometimes full, sometimes thin. You don't yell at the current to hurry. You tend your stall price fairly, greet people honestly, and tip the musician whose tune softens the morning. When surplus comes, you repair your roof train and apprentice and help the newcomer beside you. The market thrives because flow is respected. No one hoards the river. They guide it. Ethics of channels, true doors. Open by recognition, not by force. If a route asks you to bend your values, cheat others, or neglect your health, it isn't your door, no matter how it shines. By divine right protects you. Refusing what isn't yours is not lack, it's wise selection. You can say, no thank you, and still keep your receiver ready for the right yes. Ethics of flow, tithing, and generous giving, in whatever form fits you, keeps movement alive. This isn't magical thinking, it's functional design. Giving from clarity makes you a dependable channel. What comes to you doesn't go stale. It becomes benefit. You tip generously, pay invoices promptly, forgive small balances when guided support causes aligned with your values, and share expertise at the right times. You do it quietly because it isn't performance, it's participation in circulation. Mini montage of increase. An anonymous gift pays a utility bill. The recipient sleeps well and nails an interview the next day. A thoughtful public review brings clients to a freelancer who is ready to quit. A compassionate repayment plan protects dignity and the relationship. Years later, that same person guides you through an unexpected door. Generosity grows because it reduces fear. Less fear unlocks creativity. Creativity increases value. Value attracts supply. Supply invites more generosity. In this way, circulation becomes evidence of shared trust. Keep your decree aligned with your choice of channels. I receive abundance now made visible as right doors, fair pay, and clean contracts. It is mine by divine right. Let this line guard your yes and no. Ask, does this path honor my time, my body, and my word? If not, release it without bitterness. Rivers have more than one bank. Another right doorway is already on its way to you. What is truly meant for me cannot be withheld from me. Rest in that line. Feel the pressure soften. Let your shoulders drop. There is no need to chase someone else's portion or beg for what isn't chosen. Simply stand ready, hands clean, stall, ordered, gaze kind. The river knows your name. It sees your booth and sends what fits. Your work is to keep the space clear, the measure honest, and the heart open-handed. Share one practical way you'll let abundance move through you this week. Daily rhythm is a form of love. Choose the same hour if you can. The body trusts patterns. When the time comes, meet your gaze, breathe decree, take one aligned action, and release. This repetition isn't monotony, it's devotion. Each morning, you aren't starting at zero, you're adding another growth ring to the trunk.
Silence is the fence that guards the imprint. Early on, talk little about your decrees.
This isn't hiding. It's a windbreak for the seed. Even well-meaning people can project their fears.
Your decree doesn't need a committee. It needs your breath. Keep a private journal.
Write the daily decree, the moments you notice the alignments, the releases. Let it become your evidence ledger. When the mind whispers, "Nothing is happening," the pages reply, "Tuesday, peace." Wednesday, small refund. Thursday, clean no. Friday, generous tip received. Saturday, easy boundary. Sunday, overflow. The pattern becomes visible because you saved it in ink. Guarding the imprint also means curating what comes in. If you begin clear and the day gets loud, take 30 seconds to return to breath, and eyes use a bathroom mirror, a dark phone screen, the shine of a window. One breath, one gaze, one decree. These quick resets strengthen the imprint. Think of it as checking a compass, not to disturb the seed, but to keep your direction. The seed and soil image fits exactly. You plant once, water regularly, and let roots weave in the dark. You don't narrate every stage to everyone who walks by. You trust ancient, intact laws. Your decree is the seed. Your quiet is the rich earth that holds it. Let the roots keep growing. When the sprout appears, maybe as a message, a payment, a conversation, you resist the impulse to tug it up for proof. You offer thanks and keep tending. Bigger harvests will arrive, but you won't bruise the first soft green by demanding a forest by tomorrow. Timing teaches like a master. Fruit picked too soon is sharp. Fruit in its proper season is complete and sweet. Practical notes to keep your rhythm true. Pick a time you can keep even on hard days. 5 minutes at the same hour. Stay longer when you feel lifted. When you feel drained, do only the minimum, yet do it with full presence. A small practice done attentively beats a large one done in fragments. Reset the altar each day. Trim the candle, change the water, open the journal. Outer order supports inner order. Add a midday checkpoint, write the decree once, or whisper it once to a private mirror. No performance, just a clear yes, still. Choose your conversations wisely. If someone asks for updates and you feel the imprint wobble, reply, "I'm working a quiet process." Nothing else is needed. When impatience rises, move the body. Walk, stretch, loosen the wrists, drink water. Then take one small, aligned action. Movement releases pressure without disturbing the imprint. If a day falls apart, forgive it before sleep. Hand to heart, breathe and say, "I am consistent by nature." I return with ease. Sleep! Morning opens the reset gate again, and your first words will shape the day anew. Preparation is complete. You now carry the structure of a decree, the 7-day sequence, the altar setup, the sentence templates, the reframes, the ethics, and the daily rhythm. You aren't delaying worthiness. You are remembering you are chosen. A receiver is tuned by cadence, not by effort. Practice begins tomorrow. For now, return to your altar, meet your eyes, and write this word slowly, once recebo. Stand exactly as you are. Place both feet and feel the ground steady you like a friend who arrived on time. Let your spine lengthen straight as a candle after a gentle touch. Drop the shoulders down and back just enough to give the breath room. Take a slow, smooth inhale through the nose. Let the exhale go like a quiet yes. Again, inhale as if the air were luminous, calling you back from yesterday, from last year, from borrowed names. On the next breath, face the mirror if you don't have one. Close your eyes and imagine your own eyes reflecting you. Either way, the meeting is now. Let your gaze settle. Don't search for flaws or reasons to prove yourself. You are here to recognize. There you are, the promised child who survived humiliation. The voice that kept whispering when no one heard. You don't need to impress. You only need to be true. place a hand over your heart and imagine it as the divine's own hand saying, I know you. I kept you. I love you. Let your fingers warm the sternum. Let the chest warm the hand in return. Let the circuit of love complete itself. Speak softly, softly enough that the ribs can echo recibo mi verdadero yo. I receive my true self, beloved worthy whole. Let the line ring and settle. Again, letting the breath carry it, recibo mi verdadero yo. I receive my true self, beloved worthy whole. Maybe a tremor comes. Maybe only stillness, and stillness is a miracle too. Once more, this time, keeping your own eyes. Recibo mi verdadero yo. I receive my true self, beloved worthy whole. Pause. In the glass, notice the smallest lift at the mouth, the softening of the brow. Imagine a coin-sized circle of light above your crown, opening like dawn. Illumination pours in as if the ceiling turned to sky. The light isn't alien, it is your truth being recognized. Let it gather at the brow clarity, at the eyes kindness, at the cheeks innocence returned, at the lips clean speech, at the throat permission, at the heart homecoming, at the belly courage, at the legs steady strength, at the feet roots and lift. Whisper, I allow who I truly am to arrive. When old labels show up, acknowledge them without giving them a chair. Tell comparison gently you taught me for a time, but I no longer host you. Tell unworthiness with a nod you kept me small for safety, but safety now lives in truth. Watch them leave like actors after the curtain call, bowing as the stage returns to its lead your real self. Remember the moment you almost didn't apply, nearly skipped the call, nearly didn't show, and then something deeper in you chose yes. A woman once stood where you stand now, palms damp, pulse fast. She carried many labels, too late, too loud, too little. On a Tuesday, she met her own gaze, and it met her back. She said, I receive my true self, and her throat filled with voice like birds, gathering at first light. That week, she sent the email she'd been avoiding, not to impress, but to be real. The door that once stayed closed swung inward, not through more force, but because she arrived as the one who held the key. Let this settle into bone identity, comes before outcome. As Florence taught, your word is your wand, and it must match your true name. Borrowed names call in borrowed results. Your rightful name allows rightful outcomes to find you. So we reclaim the name. Keep your gaze steady and say with gentle strength, I am the one who was imagined in love, sent on purpose, supplied for by a law of good. I receive myself back from every false agreement. I receive myself back from every past scene. I receive myself in present time. Let the breath choose the pace. Inhale through the nose to 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then exhale through the mouth like warm wind, 5, 6. Keep it unhurried and let the mirror be a sanctuary, never a courtroom. If tears come, treat them as holy water at the threshold. If laughter comes, let it ring like an arrival bell. If nothing comes, let that plain nothing be enough. Repeat once more in simple faith, often the strongest, recibo mi verdadero yo. I receive my true self, beloved, worthy whole. If an inner voice asks, what if I don't know how, meet it with an elder's smile and reply, receiving isn't a technique, it is permission. You don't raise the sun, you open the curtains. Raise your hand slightly above the heart and trace a small, invisible clockwise circle to seal the decree. That circle says complete. That circle says restored. That circle says belonging. Let your shoulders drop another fraction as if a heavy cloak slipped away and an old costume pulled at your feet. Step back, step forward. Even an inch is sacred travel. You enter the room as your real self now. You meet the day as yourself, and you allow the day to recognize you in return. Take one more breath, unhurried and companionable, and offer a closing line into the mirror and into bone. Every good prepared for me recognizes me. I am recognizable because I am myself. I receive my true self, beloved, worthy whole. Imagine a soft piano holding the space, a quiet choir humming agreement beneath your words. Let stillness arrive and stay as the final note. Place your right hand over your heart and your left over your belly. These two centers, so often recruited for emergencies, are off duty now. Their task is ease. Whisper to them, thank you. The body responds to gratitude the way flowers turn toward morning. Appreciation softens places force cannot reach. Peace is a shepherding word, gathering wandering thoughts back into one meadow. Peace is also a thermostat, set it now, and the entire house recalibrates. As your inner waves rise and fall, picture the ocean from above, vast and sure. Weather may ripple the surface, yet the deep stays a cathedral of quiet. You are that depth. Thoughts will appear, of course. They are weather, not adversaries. Let them be noticed without being followed. Imagine each thought as a small boat and offer a blessing. Find a good harbor. You don't have to pilot every vessel. Your only work is to keep the water faithful to its own nature.